Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the best greatswords in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. So there are 13 unique greatswords in this game. There's a bunch of common ones, but I'll consolidate them into a single item here because they all just deal 2d6 of damage. So every single greatsword does 2d6 damage. Now if it's a magical weapon, it's going to have the +1, 2, or 3 to it. And then some of them have some unique properties like the Everburn Blade, which I'll be talking about all these weapons and all the extra benefits that each of them bring in this tier list. So I guess the first things first, we just got the regular old greatswords here. Now these aren't really that good because they just don't have any extra benefit from the other ones. So obviously I'm just going to put it in the D tier because it's just 2d6 damage. Greatswords are great weapons, but these other ones have much better benefits. So the second one that we got here is the Githyanki Greatsword, the psionic one. So what this does is if it's wielded by a Githyanki, they get an additional 1d4 of psychic damage. Psychic damage is one of the best damage types in this game because it's one of the least resisted damage types. In addition to that, you can also use the Resonance Stone, and if you're carrying it, they're going to have a vulnerability, so that 1d4 turns to double that. So that's really nice. I would say that the Githyanki Greatsword is probably like B tier. It's not something you're going to play through the entire game and use, but it's nice to have it early on Lae'zel. And there is another Greatsword that we will be talking about, which you can get in Act 1. And silly enough, I got it in my first playthrough, so it is very well attainable. But the Githyanki swords are pretty solid. Just I'm going to put that in the B tier. So next, we got the Everburn Blade. So this is actually the very first weapon that you can get in Baldur's Gate 3 because it's on the Nautiloid. You got to fight Commander Zalk there, which is actually quite a challenging fight. I was on stream the other day playing on a Gale Origin, and we were trying to get that sword and failed. But what it does, it's basically forever dipped in fire. It'll deal an additional 1d4 of fire damage. And it's absolutely an awesome sword to have because just it looks cool. You get a little bit of light coming off of that fire, but just the additional damage on it is really nice. And it doesn't require the same as you don't have to get the Yankee to get the fire. You just have to wield it. So I would have to say Everburn Blade is A tier. That additional damage is really nice just to have. So slashing and fire damage, that's awesome. And also, I should mention, all the greatswords are going to have the pommel strike bonus action attack, which can potentially daze the target. It's also a non-lethal weapon, so you won't kill a target with it. And they'll also have lacerate, which will cause bleeding, which gives 2 slashing damage at the start of their next turn. In addition, they also have cleave, which is an attack that can hit 3 people in an area and deals half weapon damage. So all of these weapons will have those equipped on if you have the proficiency to wield a greatsword. Next, we have an interesting one. This is the Sword of Justice. You get this as part of an Act 1 quest whenever you're doing a bit of Carlock's questing, and it comes with Tears Protection. So Tears Protection is basically just the +2 armor class concentration. Now, this is actually pretty solid. If you have a fighter that obviously doesn't have a concentration, getting a +2 to armor class is really nice. So it is a good sword early on if you want to play a little bit more defensively. I would say it's probably a B tier weapon. Hard to say if it's better than the Githyanki sword because the additional 1d4 psych damage is really nice. But I'll put it in the B tier because getting a character that doesn't normally need a concentration to have a concentration is pretty cool. Because otherwise they just wouldn't use that. So yeah, I would say it's B tier. On an Eldritch Knight, it gets a little bit less effective because they do have some concentrations like Expeditious Retreat. But yeah, B tier. Next we got the Svartalbees. The Svartalbees Wound Seeker. That was a mouthful. So basically what this does, deepen the wound. Whenever you attack a target that has already been attacked and taken damage, you'll have an additional 1d4 to its attack roll. Basically giving you bless on a target that's already been hit is really nice. Because you can go in, hit them the first time, and then you have an increased hit chance on your next hit. So I would say that's probably an A tier weapon early on in the game. I've used it, and getting basically a pseudo bless on your attacks is really nice, especially early on if you're not hitting your attacks, and even more so if you went Great Weapon Master and also just don't land your attacks. That's really nice to have, but not essential. So B to A tier, I would say. Yeah, I'll put it B tier, just because I know we have some really good ones coming up here. So yeah. Next we have the Jorgorgle's Greatsword, which you can get this in Act 2, and it has a unique weapon attack with the Colossal Onslaught. So basically what this does is you channel your Meddlesome Strength and strike all creatures in a line, dealing bonus slashing damage equal to your proficiency bonus. So it'll give you a nice +3 or +4 to your damage on that attack. And Yeah, it deals that 2d6 plus 1 slashing damage. It's not bad, but it also doesn't really add a whole lot other than the other swords really add. So having that weapon attack is nice because you can attack in a line and just gives you another weapon attack. This one has 4, so it's nice to have a little bit of an extra ability on your weapon. So I'll put it in the A tier. Looks similar to the Everburn Blade now that I'm just noticing that. Kind of funny. Could even be just a B tier. The Colossal Onslaught it's a nice skill to have, but it's not like an essential one to use. So yeah, even on miss, the target still take half damage. Could go B to A tier, somewhere around there. Next, we have the Soulbreaker Greatsword. And this is basically a better version. I'll switch these around. This is basically a better version of the Gith sword. So it gets that 1d4 of psychic damage that the Gith swords will be getting. In addition to that, it also gives you a +2 to your initiative, which is awesome. Anything that increases your initiative is something you want. The alert perk, which a +5 to initiative, is huge for that. In addition, you also get the Soul Breaker, which is a nice attack. Rend the enemy's body and mind. You deal additional psychic damage equal to your proficiency bonus and possibly stun them. So that gives you, again, that 3 to 4 extra damage, which is always nice to have. Whenever a creature is stunned, however, they can't take actions, bonus actions, or reactions. So you basically just take them out of combat for the next turn. This is really good. I'm going to put it in the A tier. If you have Lae'zel on your team, swap this one out as soon as you get it. You won't regret it. It's good. +2 to initiative means she's getting in there and beating people up quicker. And also having that Soul Breaker is really nice. Next, we have the Susur Greatsword. This silences targets on hit. Now, there's different versions. There's a knife version, too. What's nice about this is it can just basically stop a enemy spellcaster from casting their spell, unless they're a sorcerer, as they may have the ability to cast with that. So, I would say this is a nice sword. I would put it in the A tier as well, just because it's got silence built in. Anything that can silence an enemy spellcaster is nice. This could go well in like a Mage Slayer build. So yeah, if you got someone that's jumping around often, throw this on them and get them to jump right at their target. You could also cleave with this and hit multiple spellcasters if they're grouped together. So that is nice. It could work on a Tiger Heart Barbarian as well. I would say it's a pretty solid A tier weapon. Next, we got, I guess I'll start with the Sword of Chaos first. So this is a cool one because it comes from Baldur's Gate 2. So this deals the 2d6 +2 and an additional 1d4 of necrotic damage, putting it above all the other damage swords that we've gotten so far. And on hit, it regains 1 to 6 health. So healing on a hit is nice. There's a sword from Baldur's Gate 2. It also looks really cool. It's got like a little spiky ball. The sword glows. I really like this. I played a Paladin Warlock on my first playthrough. When I got this sword, I used to use this last sword that we'll be talking about, but I'm going to put this up in the S tier because it deals additional necrotic damage. Now, necrotic damage isn't the best damage type, but any extra damage is always nice and welcomed. But it's the regaining health that's really good because that could be a potential 18 health if you get really lucky and roll 3 6s on a triple attack on like a fighter or anyone that's multi-class with Pact of the Blade Warlock gets that extra attack too. I would say it's S tier just because healing, extra damage, and it looks cool. Bonus style points, I guess. It could be A tier to S tier, somewhere around there. It's probably the weakest of the S tier, and obviously we're going to be going over 2 of the best weapons here next. So I think I might actually talk about the Silver Sword of the Astral Plane first. You can get this sword early in Act 1 if you use Command Drop. You may want to save ahead of time and ensure that you get it to drop. But basically what this is it's Voss's sword, and it's got a lot of extra benefits. So if a Gith wields it, they get an additional 1d6 of damage, which is better than the 1d4 of the other swords. So, woohoo! Awesome. It also gives Gith-born psionic resistance. So, a Gith holding this weapon has advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, resistance to psychic damage, and cannot be charmed. So, basically, this is the ultimate way to shut down any mind flayers because 1, you get the resistance to psychic damage, which is their main damage type, but you also get the advantage on saving throws against their intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. So, hold person, you name it, you're going to have resistance or have advantage on those dice rolls, which is absolutely massive. I'm going to put it at the S tier, ahead of the Sword of Chaos, because that's just really great. And then you also get the Soul Breaker on this, similar to the other sword, so potentially stuns them, and it deals additional psychic damage equal to your proficiency bonus, so nice +3 or +4 psychic damage. That's a really good sword. It can give you upwards of like +10 psychic damage, which can be doubled to 20, with the resonant stone. So very nice build, especially when you want to build around. I really like the sword too. It looks pretty cool. And then finally, we got the Baldur Giant Slayer, which this is a good sword. So it has the Giant Slayer perk, which whenever you hit it, hit a target, it adds the damage from your strength modifier and doubles it. So extra damage, and it also stacks if you have like the Pact of the Blade. So even that is awesome too. It gives you advantage on attack rolls against large, huge, or gargantuan foes. So advantage on attack rolls, awesome. More chance to hit. And it also gives you the giant form, which does actually stack if you have it from another area. So the giant form, basically you can take whoever's using it, make them big, and then they deal an additional 1d6 damage, and they gain 27 health points, and they get advantage on strength checks and saving throws. And you can use the giant form once per short rest. So that's potentially 3 times before you have to rest. That is amazing. So S tier. You also get the Topple the Big Folk, which deals additional damage equal to your proficiency bonus to large, huge, or gargantuan creatures, and they take an additional 2d6 slashing damage and must succeed a strength saving throw or fall prone, giving you further advantage on your attack rolls. So there's a lot of great things to say about the Baldur Giant Slayer. It's got the most damage of all the great swords. It's got the most utility, and it gives you a giant form as well. So really good weapon. Yeah, I would say that that's definitely the best in this game. I might even move one of these down just to kind of even things out. So I feel like maybe Sword of Justice could be like C tier. Tier's protection's nice, but it's not something you're once you get a better sword, you're never going to use that again. And the Svartalvi's Wound Seeker, giving you advantage or plus 1d4 on attack rolls is a little bit better. But there it is. Those are the best great swords ranked in Baldur's Gate 3. They're a lot of fun. I really like great swords, and I think they had some pretty cool ones. A little disappointed they don't have a Guts great sword from Berserk in this game. It's a big slab of iron for a sword, but hey, I'm sure there's a mod out there somewhere, and there's more being made every day. So there it is. Best great swords in Baldur's Gate 3. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.